Confidence doesn't just appear, it's claimed. Karen Gray's journey started in a rodeo arena and led her to a deeper truth. The stories we tell ourselves can hold us back or set us free. If you've ever felt intimidated, stuck, or silenced, this episode is for you. It's time to take the mic and own the stage. Welcome to Rise to Lead, the podcast where heart-driven leaders come together to inspire and innovate. They will share actionable tips and insights that help you lead your team more successfully, advance your career or business as a leader, achieve greater impact, and experience deeper fulfillment. I'm your host, Regina Huber, guiding you through deep conversations about leadership that's rooted in service, freedom, and the desire to leave a positive mark on the world. Are you ready to create real change in your leadership, your career, your life? Join me for a complimentary Lead and Thrive session, a 60-minute one-on-one strategy session where we will discuss your specific needs and map out the next steps to lead yourself and others powerfully. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Visit transformyourperformance.com/Lead Thrive session to book your Lead and Thrive session today. Let's work together to make it happen. Welcome to the Rise to Lead podcast. I am delighted to sit down today with Karen Gray from Texas. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Regina. Oh, so happy to be on here.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you on, Karen. Welcome to the show. So, Karen Gray is a leading authority on confidence and transformation, helping leaders become VIPs. We're going to talk more about what that means by aligning their values, intention, and purpose. Here's the hint, VIP, right?
Yes.
To break through self-doubt, insecurities, and step boldly into their potential. As co-founder of Gray Legacy Partners, CEO of Gray Legacy Coaching and president of Texas Business Women, she supports individuals to lead, love, and build impactful legacies. An adoptee who has lived through some serious trauma, Karen's personal journey is a large part of what fuels her mission to inspire others to discover their own self-worth, experience mind shifts, and take extreme ownership, and also, of course, lead with confidence. Her transformative approach through her VIQ, value intelligence, and mind matrix methods create both personal and professional breakthroughs, changing minds, hearts, bank accounts, and legacies. She's host of the Rock Movers podcast. Yeah. She's also host of the Rock Movers podcast and also of the upcoming book Chosen. And I was lucky enough to be interviewed for the Rock Movers podcast recently. So yeah, I look forward to both our episodes going live soon.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I hear that bio and I'm like, yeah, that's all me. Like I did all that. Like that's just so, I don't know, it's just so reaffirming when we can hear all of the things and receive it. And I think that's this journey that I'm helping others do, is just really receive and acknowledge who they are.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, and thanks for doing that, because a lot of people have an issue doing that for themselves.
Yes.
And that is something that we want to take care of with this conversation today, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's get going.
Let's do it. So, Karen, as you know, every coach is different and we all have our specific coaching approach for a reason, right? So tell us briefly what your personal story is that's behind your coaching approach and how it shaped that approach.
Yeah. So you're right. Everybody comes to coaching on a different path for different reasons. And mine started with my daughter. She was competing in Texas. We have they're like Miss pageants for the girls, but instead of being on stage, my daughter was in a rodeo queen pageant, so she was in a rodeo arena, and she was learning how to be a better rodeo competitor, be more confident in her speaking. And we had a friend helping her, and our friend was tragically killed in a car accident. And so I had to step in and coach her. And I loved it. And I loved the feeling of watching my daughter's confidence grow. And I realized that the things that I struggled with as a youth, I was still kind of struggling with, and was able to help her through that process. And I just fell in love with the process of coaching. So I began coaching other girls. That led to coaching them on other things. And fast forward 17 years, and now I'm coaching executive and professional women full time. And it's just kind of evolved and had this journey of coming out of necessity. And now I work with women to really just step into this place of receiving all of their gifts. So, all of the things that have happened to us, the rocks that I call, the challenges, the traumas, the obstacles, the things that were meant to stop us in our head are actually there to help us create and be ourselves on purpose. And that is now what I lead from. So, what's happened? What are you making it mean? And what is the truth of it? And how does that align with who you really were intended to be based on, and I use that VIP, based on the things that you value, your intention for what you want to accomplish, and then why you believe you're here, your purpose.
Yes, that is so beautifully said. And yeah, totally. Also now explains I had read somewhere that you had written like 350 rodeo queen speeches.
I
You was
have,
intrigued
yeah.
by that. I
Oh,
was going to
yeah.
ask you how one gets to do this. And now you've, of
Yeah.
course, at least partly answered that question. But tell us a little bit more about that. It's such a fun fact.
Yeah, so it's a very niche world, the
Mhm.
rodeo queen world. But in America, well, all over the world, but specifically in America, they have these rodeo queen representatives. So they're the representatives, the media face for rodeos all around the United States and Canada.
Mhm.
And these girls have to go through a grueling process to earn that opportunity to be the ambassador, the rodeo queen of that event or that state. And one of the parts that they have to do is they have to compete in the past it was primarily prepared speeches, so I would have to write these speeches. For our Miss girls now they have to do an extemporaneous speech, so now I coach a lot on extemporaneous speaking. So they're given a topic and then they have to talk about it for 5 minutes. But still our younger girls have to prepare these speeches, and they have to be entertaining. They have to be able to present it by memory. They can't read a card or read a paper. And they're judged on confidence, presentation, memorization, the content of the speech, and then their personality in the speech. And so
Oh,
it's this opportunity for these girls to find a piece of their story that's unique to them. We create a crafted speech, and then I coach them on how to deliver it. So how to stand with the mic, how to present themselves on stage, where to put their eyes, what to do with their hands while they're talking, all of the things. And through that whole process, I've learned a lot about myself and how we do things so naturally and unintentionally when we're talking on stage. Sometimes our hands move or our body moves a certain way, or we do things just unknowingly. It's just something that subconsciously happens. And so it's really important to be aware. So, this presence of where I am on the stage, whether I'm giving a speech, whether I'm, part of a panel, or whether it's just me supporting someone, it's really about the stage presence and confidence. So, when I learned confidence was at the core and the root of everything that we do publicly. So, whether it's an interview or our job or selling or speaking, confidence is at the root of all of it.
absolutely. You talked about the story and the meaning. And I think that's a really important distinction,
Hmm.
actually, between just the story and the
Right.
story and the meaning, right?
Yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
that a
So,
little bit.
oh my gosh. So, how often, let's talk about an example first. So, how often have we had something happen between us and someone else? And in our head, we make up a story about what happened, why that happened, to explain and justify. Because our brain is always trying to make reason or justify something. We're trying to understand. So let's say my daughter, well, let's not use my daughter. We won't use family. Let's say this girl named Sue and I are talking about getting together on a podcast. And Sue says, yeah, I'd love to be on your podcast. And then she doesn't respond anymore.
Mhm.
And I really want Sue to be on my podcast. And all of a sudden, she's not responding. So I make up a story on why she's not responding to me anymore in my head. That's typical human response. And then I take it one step further and I make it mean something about me. Oh, she's not responding because she doesn't like me. She doesn't think my podcast is good enough. She doesn't blah, 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 fill in the blank. We can make up the best stories. Our brain can go crazy with the imagination when the truth of it may be maybe she was traveling overseas and forgot to tell me that she was going to be unavailable for 2 weeks. Had nothing to do with the value of my podcast or me. So there's the truth of what's really going on, and then there's the story that we make up, and then what we make it mean about ourselves. So when we get caught in this loop of making something mean something, the best way to stop that is to ask ourselves, what is the truth? And if I don't know the truth, why am I making up such a horrible story? Why do I assume the worst? Because that's when we're insecure in any way. That's where we go first, is we go to the worst case scenario because that's how we protect ourselves. Our brain is just trying to protect.
Right. And when we don't know, a really useful question that I like to ask in that case is, what really happened? What do I know
Right?
that really happened? So what actually
Yes.
happened? What's
Yes.
an objective description of the
Hmm.
situation?
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. So in that scenario, what really happened?
Mhm.
Sue hasn't responded yet. So I don't have anything to go base my decisions on. I'm waiting to hear back. Maybe this is the wrong time. Maybe something came up. Maybe she got locked out of her email and doesn't know how to contact me. There's so many scenarios that it could be. So rather than assuming, I'm just going to stop, pause, and wait to hear back.
Well, I
That's
have
the
to say, I just had such a case myself before this podcast. Literally a few minutes before, I was following up with somebody who had inquired about working with
hmm.
me, and then he'd been putting it off a little bit. Certain situations, I get it,
Yeah.
things come up.
Right.
So then I all of a sudden I hadn't heard back. Like now, and he would follow up, but now I hadn't heard back in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And so I thought, oh, I don't think he's interested anymore. So I just sent him a message.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm assuming, are you still interested at all? Very friendly tone, of course, and and he's, oh yes, 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 this other thing happened. We are
Yeah.
assuming
See?
automatically what hasn't even happened and what we don't know. So that's really important for any situation in life.
Yeah. I
I
love that. And I
personally,
love that you didn't make it mean something about you. Like he didn't respond, so he's not interested, but that means I'm not valuable. That's where we start going off the rails,
Mhm.
is when we go the next step and make it mean something that, to your point, isn't necessarily true or isn't true at all.
Yes, this is such an important topic to me personally because I really, really had to learn this. I
Mm.
was the master meaning maker, especially when it comes to silence. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to have a really tough time with silence in the past, and that's
Right.
probably also why I sometimes might even over communicate a little bit just to make people comfortable and
Yeah.
not have them in limbo because that's something I
I
personally don't
Oh
enjoy
gosh,
it.
Regina. Yes, thank you for sharing that because silence is such a gift. Silence is where we can process. Silence is where we, in sales, the next one to speak loses, is what they say. But the next one to speak controls the next steps. And so if I'm communicating and there's silence, in that pause, I get to really leave space for someone to process what's going on and give them room to come up with the next question or the next answer. And when I step in and I try to over communicate, and this is me because I over communicate as well. But if I try to over communicate, sometimes I will talk them out of something that they really wanted to do because I didn't give them enough space to process it. Because everybody processes and comes to a decision in their own way. I'm an external processor, and so I talk it out. I also go by my gut and I make decisions really, really quick. If something feels good, I talk about it and I'm like, yeah, of course that makes sense because I feel this. Okay, let's move on. And you may have someone that's an internal processor and they need to go through their internal checklist and decide, okay, so it meets this criteria, it meets this criteria. They're going through their personal own VIP list
Mhm.
and coming to a decision in the meantime. I've already talked them in and out of it. And they're like, oh, well, I guess Karen doesn't want me to do this. So, okay, no, I don't want to.
Yeah,
I've
that
already,
can happen. And what I
yeah,
meant
I've already
also by
given them
over,
their
yeah,
excuses.
yeah. What I also meant by over communicating my specific case is
Mm.
that I sometimes might follow up a bit more than other
Oh,
people.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like I like to uh, just leave people reassured, you know,
Yeah.
about, okay, I haven't forgotten about you. And sometimes they don't even need it.
Yeah.
That's also true sometimes. Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we all process things differently. So
Yeah.
if we could look through the lens of the other person, it would be such a gift, but that's not possible. So, the best gift we can give is to look at conversations through the lens of curiosity
Mhm.
and just remain curious. What are they thinking? What do they need? What if they did want this? What could I do to help them? You know, what feels good right now?
Yeah.
What feels good, maybe just stepping back and letting them have space to make this decision or giving them a little more time or whatever the case may be. But when we remain curious and we live in what I love to call the land of and. When I live in the land of and, my feelings, fears, insecurities can exist and my confidence can exist at the same time. My doubt that they're going to want to work with me and the fact that they may want to work with me can live in the same scenario. So, what if I just wait and get confirmation?
Right. It's really important to remember that they are not mutually exclusive.
They are not. That's right.
Yeah.
We don't want to put a but in the middle of this.
Right.
We want to live in the land of and.
Absolutely. So you talk a lot about confidence. Obviously, we've already heard that a few times now, and transformation. And many people think confidence is somehow related to an alpha personality, you know?
Hmm.
So how do you define true confidence, and why is it so important for leaders to cultivate this true confidence?
Yeah, I love the distinction there. So, confidence isn't the same as control.
Hmm.
And so, an alpha personality or a really strong, dominant male energy or masculine energy, rather, is someone that can come in a room and control the scenario, control the narrative, control the conversation. And confidence is knowing that I'm okay, even if I'm not in control. I'm good. I'm enough. I am safe right here in my body. And so I can be okay being me. And that, from that place, I know who I am, I know what I need, and I know what I have to offer, and I know what my value is. So I can step into any room, any situation, any conversation, and be okay being me. So
Right.
it's just this underlying conversation with yourself, knowing that who you are is enough.
Right. And in this context, I like to often talk about your inner power. It is very much
Yes.
related to this true confidence, this inner power that we all have and that we sometimes forget to tap into and to access.
Right.
And
Yeah.
once
And
we
I
are,
love to imagine that when I step into a space
Mhm.
that could feel very intimidating, it's okay to acknowledge that. But I love to shift what that energy is. So one of the things that I have done is when I feel some sort of trigger or intimidation or whatever name you want to give it, a lack of confidence with a certain scenario or a certain person, I'm like, oh, this is teaching me something about me. This isn't about that person at all. It's about something I feel I lack or that I don't have access to. What is that? So I get curious about me and what I feel like I'm missing. And maybe it's, I think that person is more professional, a better speaker, more successful in some area that I desire to have and don't yet. And so I'm like, wow, how can I learn from this person? And then I lean in, get curious, and get to know them better. And I set that as my intention the last 2 years because that was for me in the past, that was especially true with successful women. And so I saw these women who were on stage speaking, leading, writing books, doing all of these things that I desired to do but hadn't done yet. I saw them as better than me. And that my confidence just shrank when I would get around them. And I was like, wow, that's a really good insight, like microscope down onto my confidence.
Yeah.
So what do I do about that? I get to know these women, and every single time when I have done that, I see that these are women who are just doing it scared. They're doing it anyway. They're leaning into their fears, and they just have done it more times than I have. They've spoken on more stages than I have. They've done and expressed things that I didn't have the opportunity yet. And so it wasn't about value, it was just about repetition and opportunities.
Right. So sometimes we do it despite the fear, and sometimes we can
Yes.
also find ways to actually move through our fear, right? But whether
100%.
we do
Yes.
that temporarily for that moment, and we have our
Mm-hmm.
tools and techniques, like for example, in my book "Speak Up, Stand Out in China," I put this type of tools. I collected this type of tools because I needed them myself, and I thought, well, I figured they could help other people too, and they have
Yes.
since then. Now, so we have those. I call these tools crutches, actually, because we need them in the
Mm.
moment, right?
Yeah.
Although we could always use them, we could continue using them because they're still useful when
Right.
we already feel more confident. Because some of them are really just to optimize our energy. And you mentioned your energy before. You like to shift your energy, so
Mm-hmm.
that's another way of shifting your energy in the moment to really focus
Yes.
on for example, on your inner power energy and
Mm-hmm.
as what we focus on expands, right?
Yes. 100%.
So that's one of the things. And then of course, what you just described is more like a process. It's
Mm-hmm.
an ongoing process that you have experimented with, and it seems like very successfully. So that's really awesome. Great approach. Really like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, it has literally changed my circles. And when we rise to the level of our circles. They
Mhm.
say you're the sum of the five people that are closest to you, but I believe when we create circles, we rise or fall to the level of our circle. And so I have literally changed the dynamics of the women who I have encircled around me, and it has caused me to become more confident. It has caused me to step into rooms that I wouldn't have otherwise, because of opportunities, because of courage, because of an inherent need to. just grow. I'm just curious and I need to learn more. I'm propelled to learn more because I'm exposed to bigger opportunities. I just see them around me now. So it's been amazing. So just that leaning in to an edge that felt very uncomfortable has really shifted my mindset, my world, my environment, and my business.
Yes. And now I'm curious, Karen, about the VIP concept that you have. So you help leaders
Yes.
become VIPs through values, intention, and
Yes.
purpose. This is a process that you have integrated. So can you walk me
Yeah.
through
So
that process and what it looks like in practice?
yes. So, just kind of the short version of it. Um, I when I have to make a decision and I feel torn about a decision or I'm not sure what I need to do next about something, I go back to this VIP formula and I ask myself, does this next choice align with my values? So the process is identifying what is values to me. What do I value in life, in business, in people, in my faith? Like, what are the things that I value the most? So I have to go in and do some internal work first before I can use this process. So I determine what my values are. What is my intention in any situation? And so if someone in the past, I've been well, I probably still struggle with this sometimes, but a people pleaser. So I'm a recovering people pleaser. People pleaser anonymous right here. But I love for people to feel really good when they have an experience with me. I don't like people to be upset with me. But now I know at this stage of my life that if they're upset, that's a choice they're making that's not specifically something I've intentionally done because I know my intention in any scenario when I go into it. And so when I've checked my intention and I know what my intention, how I want to show up, how I want to be seen, how I want to behave, how I want to help, I know my intention and I've set those. And then purpose, understanding. I think this is the big human question. Why am I here? What am I here to accomplish? And so when you do that deep dive work and you know your values, you know your intentions, and you know your purpose for being here, now I can align my decisions, my relationships, my world, my business to that baseline. That becomes your baseline for everything. And that gives you such confidence and assuredness that when you go into a scenario, into a situation, you know who you are, you know why you're there, and you know what you're supposed to accomplish. Now, does life happen and it kind of derails it? Occasionally, yeah, it will. But you still have that baseline to go to. So when stuff goes haywire, you have a place to come back to and say, okay, this didn't go the way I wanted. I fell, not failed. So I fell down. This didn't really work out. Okay, now I just get up and go again. But I get to check in with myself and did I honor that VIP? Am I behaving as a VIP in this situation? And if the answer is yes, then you can move forward with confidence. You can move forward with your head held high, knowing that you did exactly what you were intended to do, and there's going to be something good come from this.
Okay, so I have a question about this because my experience is that a lot of people don't have a huge issue identifying their values, or their
Hmm.
intention, but there are quite a few people who are not so sure about their purpose. And
Yeah.
so my take on it is actually that we don't always have to know it, but I'm curious what your take on it is, because that can be a big stop sign for
Hmm.
people when they are supposed to, know their purpose,
Yeah.
but they feel they don't, and they get confused and think, oh, what am I doing now? Right.
Yeah.
So talk
So
to us about that.
I discovered human design
Oh yeah,
a few
I
years ago.
use that too, by the way, sometimes.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with human design, I believe human design is the gift and your blueprint for discovering your purpose. So I feel like everybody can know their purpose. Now, does that purpose take on different we'll call it clothes, for example.
Yeah.
So, my purpose here, I believe, based on my human design, is to experience the world and to have all of these experiences that I use to then turn around and love people. I am here to literally show people that you can love yourself and love others, regardless of where you're from, who you are, what you look like. Like, literally, I am here to perpetuate love. And that is my inherent God given purpose. Now, I think people get hung up on purpose as in a job or a title or a place that I live. And I don't think it's that. I think it's so, so, so much deeper and simpler. I think we overcomplicate purpose to attach it to what we do, not who we are. And so I believe if you can study your human design, learn your human design, and know just at your core what you were designed to do, your internal soul's blueprint, that is your gift to knowing your purpose. And that gives you this confidence of, oh, okay. So when I learn, for example, when I learn my human design, I'm a manifesting generator, a 3-5 manifesting
Yeah.
generator.
I'm a manifester.
So,
Hmm.
so I am here to do stuff messy. I'm not really here to invent the iPhone. I'm
Hmm.
not here to build the iPhone, but I'm here to make the iPhone better, faster, quicker in a way that shortcuts this curve for humanity. Just using that phone as an example. So when I learned that, it's like, oh, so I can have all of these visions, but I don't have to be the one that creates the idea from nothing. I can respond to a problem and come up with a way to fix it and then hand it off to the next person who's really talented to fix it. So I'm kind of this middle visionary, get stuff done, and I can work really hard, really long on things I'm really passionate about. That's who I am. That's my purpose here. That was such a gift to know that. It gave me permission to be me and do me on purpose. And
Right.
so,
So human design gave me specifically also some really great insights on decision making.
mhm,
I think you mentioned it a little bit also in the beginning of this conversation when you talked about people making decisions in different ways. And
right.
that was one of the biggest values for me, value nuggets for
Yes.
me in human design, because I noticed that I had actually often made decisions very spontaneously and very much
Mhm.
on the spot and very impulsively almost.
Yes.
And that these decisions were then actually not the right decisions because I would have been probably better off. And there are no right or wrong decisions anyway. It's
Right.
just like a way of talking, right? But
Yeah.
so I probably would have made a different decision, let's just put it that way, if I had given myself the space and the time to sleep on it,
Right.
because that's
Right.
likely my most beneficial way of making decisions as I later
Mhm.
uncovered for myself also through human
Right.
design, right? So there's
Yeah.
a lot of value in it. And I also want to say to people, yes, it's great if you work with somebody who understands a lot about human design, but if you want to just give it a try and get a little bit of a taste of it, you could
Mhm.
also do one of those human design tests. Well, what
Yeah, there's free
applied tests?
resources out
Yeah,
there.
free resources, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I have teamed up with a an amazing, brilliant coach who teaches and studies and knows the gene keys and human design. So if anybody's looking for a resource, she's amazing. And so happy to share that resource. Her name is Monique Parker. And she and I are actually working on a way to help people know their human design and build their business based on it. So I have another project coming out and it's called The Unboxed Business. So I'm excited to share that. You guys are one of the first people to hear about it, but that's launching this
Great.
month just because it has been so transformative. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, once you know it, it's a roadmap. It's a blueprint, right?
Yes.
It's not like, oh, I have to follow this forever. This is the only way. If it doesn't fit for you, great, check it. But if it does, it helps you. Anything that helps, that serves you, that feels like this is aligned, that's all you're asking for. And my human design was that gift to become my most intentional, purposeful, competent self. And it helped me, as Regina said, identify my intentions and gave me permission to trust them. So I think it's just a gift to trust yourself.
Yes. Yes, and also the insight that I'm a manifester, was freeing actually.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when I do human design readings, for clients, then there's always this freeing piece in it,
Yes.
because
That's what I've
there's
seen
always
too.
one piece that helps them get to know themselves much better, and
Mhm.
they feel either less bad about something or better about something, or both, right?
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's just like, oh, that makes so much sense. And you feel like
Right.
someone's kind of reading your mail, like, wow, how did you know that about me? Or, yeah, that's absolutely true. So now I can trust that.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Sometimes it's a confirmation. Mhm.
it's just a yeah, it's a beautiful confirmation. And it's funny because it's so scientifically based, but then it does have some spiritual, because the body graph is also in aligned with our meridians and chakras and all of that. And you're like, wow. So my heart and my sacral are attached to my throat. And so it just confirmed that I'm here to talk about something. I'm here to talk about the things that I'm passionate about, that I love, that I feel strongly about. And that also gave me this little push that I needed to stop hiding, to stop allowing my voice to be silenced. And it's like, wow, so that's why I'm doing podcasts, to talk about things I'm passionate about. So now I need to be aware of that, to use that, because that feels aligned. And I know when I feel excited about something and purposeful, I'm in alignment. When I feel stressed and frustrated, oh, okay, check in with myself. What am I not doing that's aligned? Or what am I doing that feels unaligned?
I just want to go back real quick because I think there was a slip of the tongue. Actually, is it allowed my voice to be silenced? I think you wanted to say allowed my voice to be heard, maybe?
No, so I allowed
That's
people to silence me. I
oh,
allowed
okay, okay.
people
You
to,
you used to.
yes, in the
Used,
past.
okay, I
So
got
let me
that.
clarify.
I
Yes,
I misheard that. I
I
misheard that.
had
Yes.
allowed my voice to be
All
silenced,
right.
and I had really, I had worked with some pretty toxic people,
Mhm.
and it wasn't safe to be me. It wasn't safe to shine. It wasn't safe to be this woman with strong convictions and strong passions and strong ideas, this manifesting generator who could see things that others couldn't see. In like, oh, if we do this, XYZ is going to happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. And I could see the scenarios coming ahead. Those ideas weren't welcome in that scenario, that situation, and that job that I had. And it had stifled my voice. And so I quit speaking. I quit speaking up. I quit speaking for myself. I quit
Right.
advocating publicly for others. And almost became a PTSD kind of situation where I was afraid to speak up in other situations because that trigger would happen. And I was like, not safe to be me, not safe to speak up. And then I learned my human design. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why that feels so hard and heavy, because I'm meant to speak up. And I had to learn to trust that again, to trust me. And when situations didn't feel safe, to honor that and to excuse myself from those relationships or situations.
Yes, and oftentimes it doesn't really help to change environments
Mm-hmm.
because we actually put ourselves, for some reason, again
100%.
into a similar environment so that we can
Yeah.
make the almost
Yeah.
same experience over
Yes.
and over again. Uh,
Yeah.
and on the other hand, if we start changing something in ourselves, then that eventually stops.
Right. Yeah. Oftentimes we get stuck in the familiar uncomfortable
Mhm.
rather than the uncomfortable unfamiliar. And so it's like battling the monster that we know versus battling the monster that we don't.
Makes
So
sense.
that's why I believe women stay, specifically women, but people stay in scenarios or relationships, environments that are very toxic and very unsafe. It's because they've learned how to cope in that situation. But I just want to challenge and encourage you to lean in. And if it feels unsafe and if it feels very, very toxic and very unproductive and you're unhappy, what if you could just get curious on what could happen in another scenario and how you are possibly capable of figuring it all out? And I think human design is a great gift for you to kind of build that roadmap on a way into a new room, new relationship, new door.
Right, right. So let's talk about your book, your upcoming
Oh,
book, Chosen.
yes. So
I'm so
you,
curious about that. So tell us all about it.
yeah. So you mentioned that I'm an adoptee, which is where my people pleasing tendencies came from. Um, I
Oh, I
found out I
think
was,
even non-adoptees, it's
yes.
in
Oh, yeah.
amazing us for
It's
different
not
reasons,
limited to
but
adoptees, but that's definitely was the root of
yeah.
mine.
Okay.
I found out I was adopted when I was 6, and my family was my adopted family was wonderful. I had a great mom, great dad, 2 great brothers, extended family, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles. Love, love, love my family. But somehow there was this primal instinct that something was missing. So when I found out I was adopted, it was like, oh, this is what you've been hiding from me. And even at 6, I knew that something was off. And my, there was other situations going on at the same time, some abuse situations with a cousin. And I felt like, oh, this is why you didn't protect me because I'm adopted. So, as my little kid brain made the correlation between those two situations, and my family would jokingly and lovingly tell my brothers, we're stuck with you, but we chose her. And my brothers were 13 and 15 years older than me. So they were, much older. And it would just be this playful thing that they would do, meaning well for me. Like, we love you. We chose you. We wanted you. We're just stuck with your brothers. But what my little kid brain heard was, we chose you and someone else didn't. We
Okay.
chose you and we could make another choice.
And
And
what a
so,
big question is also, sorry to interrupt, but it's also
yeah.
an important question. What did your brothers hear?
Oh, they were, yeah, we've joked about it,
Yeah.
and they always felt like they were protecting me when that was said.
Okay.
So I really kind of grew up with 3 dads because
Okay.
they were older and very amazing brothers. I love my brothers, but it's like I have 3 dads.
Yeah.
So they were very protective and loving.
Okay.
I
I was
don't think
curious
it,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, no, if it is, it's very
Mhm.
subconscious and they haven't mentioned
Yeah.
it, but we've talked about
Mhm.
it since.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah. Okay,
but
but please go on. Yeah.
yeah, but what, feeling like someone could not choose me created this pattern of wanting to really earn people choosing me, be good enough, be pretty enough, be smart enough, be loving enough, be more valuable so that people would choose me. It created bad habits with boys and all of this. But fast forward, I found my adopted or my biological family when I was 24, and have maintained that relationship. So I have a relationship with my biological and adopted family. But I thought that finding them would fill in all the gaps and would solve everything. Like, just this magic wand would be, woven, and all of a sudden, ta-da, here's all your pieces of your heart that you've been missing. And that didn't happen. And so I spent the next 20 years trying to figure out why that didn't change things. And what I came down to realize through many coaches, therapy, all kind of things, is that I had abandoned me. I was choosing everybody else over me. And the gift that I had was to choose me. And so my book, Chosen, is about going from being orphaned to adopted, well, orphaned to fostered to adopted, to chosen. So now no one else gets to dictate whether I'm chosen or not because I choose me. And it's that journey of we all get to choose ourselves. And so, regardless of your background, at some time, if you have felt like you were choosing others over you, running on empty, running on burnout, living on fumes because you have sacrificed everything, and women typically do this more so than men, we become martyrs. We become guilt driven, where we feel like we have to put everybody's needs in front of our own. You are telling your soul, your brain, that everybody else is more valuable than you. And the gift that you get to do is to stop and fill your cup first, love yourself first, protect yourself. And when you have that as your baseline, now you have so much more to give everybody else. And you are telling yourself that you're worthy of being the priority. And it's not a self centered, narcissistic, I'm going to do me, you do you kind of thing. It's I love myself enough and I love you enough to give you, my kids, my husband, my friends, my clients, the best version of me. So I'm going to practice self care. I'm going to choose things that are healthy for me. I'm going to put myself in environments where I can be my most productive, abundant, loving self.
And then
And
also the
it's
most generous.
absolutely the
Yes,
most
because
generous. Yes.
we are all connected, aren't we? We are one,
Yes.
so why would you
Yeah.
leave yourself out? And
Right.
actually, you are the center of your universe. Just look
Mm-hmm.
around. Why not be
Yeah.
selfish? You gotta
I
be
love that.
selfish. You know, selfish is
Yes.
not a bad word. I
Right.
think we need to move away from that too, you know. And
Yeah.
you mentioned self-centered. Okay, I can also be self-centered at times, even, and then again, then again, move my focus away from myself
Mm-hmm.
to others, and that's totally fine too. Because
Yeah.
without that, I cannot nurture myself, and then I cannot be the source of support for others like
Yeah.
you're a mother, right? Or like a sister or a friend
Right.
or a
Yes.
coach. So it's so important. And I really really like the idea of this book and the message.
Thank you. Yeah. There'll be, stories of my journey, but then I'm also sharing journeys of other people who have chosen themselves or have gone through adoption or fostering or just this self abandonment type time period of their life and how they are now choosing themselves and what that has done. Because I think that is the greatest gift that we can give the world and our world, right? Our family, ourselves. And I love to see this scenario, and I think you made a great distinction between self-centered and selfish. I think selfish is when we don't care about the consequences to other people. We're going to put ourselves over them. But self centered means I'm going to take care of myself first, not at anybody else's demise, but because it's important to take care of me. I am at the center of my world. Selfish is when, like, we're totally disregarding others. And I think that goes back to intention, right? I'm not trying to hurt anyone else. I'm literally trying to take care. Now, if there's consequences, they're unintended, but I'm not
Right.
trying to put myself over someone else. Like women can be catty and selfish and use men or use each other women or step over other people and hurt people and totally disregard those consequences. I think that's selfish. That's not what we're
Yeah,
promoting
again, it
here.
depends very much on the definition of how we use this word. So I know that people use both words in different ways. I'm totally aware
Yeah,
of that.
that's just how I
It's
see
really
it.
about, it's really about making it clear that it's not a bad thing to take good care of yourself.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
quite the opposite, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, Karen, I'm so glad you're writing this book. And what's the provision of do you have a publication date?
Yeah, we're looking at launching January 2026. So we'll have a first chapter out by fall that'll be public just to share a little tidbit. And then officially launching in January should be my launch date for the book. that's the goal. I'm working with the team, and so we have the cover, we have the outline, and we're gathering the stories now. So if you are an adoptee or someone that can resonate with this message, would love for you to contact me to see if we can share your story in our book and really share the message that being chosen is only something that you get to dictate. And yes, other people can choose you too. I feel like my husband chose me, and I feel very blessed by that. But the fact that I choose me first and give him my best version of me, and my kids the best version of me, and my grandbabies the best version, and my clients, that truly feels like such a abundant gift that I now have for the world.
Yes, yes.
So
And is
thank you.
the opportunity to be a part of the book a paid opportunity, or is it?
No, no, not at all. It's not an anthology. It's
Yeah,
really just little snippets, and we'll
okay.
definitely, obviously give credit unless they want to stay anonymous, then we'll give them a pseudonym. But
I might
yeah,
mention
no.
one. I might mention it to someone. I will mention.
Yeah, please. We're just really giving real world scenarios. So it's not just my story, it's story of the chosen message.
Yeah, and he's also a great storyteller, so I think you will.
Ooh, perfect.
Anyway, more about that
Yeah. And
after.
I love to have those conversations on my Rock Movers podcast. So if someone's
Yeah,
listening to this and they have this story of how they've chosen themselves, we are doing a whole season about chosen in season 8 of the Rock Movers. So
cool. Could be a great exchange in
yeah. So
education.
Regina will be in
So,
season
yeah.
7. So you could be in the next season.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yes.
yes, and I just want to say, when you have the structure of a book, the
Hmm.
biggest part is usually done almost because
Yes.
it's really that, right? It's also the
Yeah.
intention, where you like to talk about intention behind the
Yes.
book, the
Yeah,
purpose of
my
the
book
book,
is
right?
literally a foundation of my VIP. It
Yeah,
is my VIP lived out in print.
yeah,
And I'm also open that as we go forward, there may be some changes because sometimes things just happen and they're so aligned. It's like, oh, we need to add this chapter in or move this. And so that can change deadlines. We know that that happens, but we really have a really feels amazingly aligned outline and just the story pattern. So we kind of have an image of what the book's going to leave you feeling, and then we're backing into it.
right. Yeah, the structure and the intention was what was holding me up in the beginning
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to figure out. I'd actually already written parts of the book or some, pieces of it,
Hmm.
and then it was
Yes.
sitting on my computer because that's what I was still
Oh my
missing. And when I had
goodness.
figured
Yes.
that out, that's when the idea came for the book that I published last
Yeah.
year, Living My
And
Fucking Amazing Life.
I love that book. I love the name. I think it's amazing. But I think if someone's listening to this and they're like, "Well, Regina wrote a book and Karen's writing a book, but I can't write a book." If you have a book inside of you, we just want to encourage you to lean into it and just get curious on how it could happen. Because I think we live in this I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. But ask yourself, how can I?
Absolutely. And what if I could?
And what if I could? Ooh, so juicy.
I love this I call them self-empowering what if questions.
Yes, yes. What if I could? Yeah. And I
Okay.
think how can I and what if I could, they just when you get curious, when they allow room to look for answers, our brain goes about seeking those. When you say I can't, it's like, okay, I believe you can't. We'll stop there. So remain curious. I think that's such a gift.
Yeah, I'm going to add another question. So we have the how can I? What
Hmm.
if I could? And why is it now becoming easier for me to write a book? It's another great question.
Ooh, that's actually speaking into the power of that. I love that. You're telling the universe it's easy.
Yeah. You're telling it to yourself. That's the most important person to
Yes,
convince, I think.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's often the most difficult to convince. So if you can convince her yourself,
Right. Or him.
um,
Yeah, exactly.
or him, that's
Yeah.
right. You are ahead of the game.
Right. So, Karen, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation
Oh,
again. I'm so
thank you.
glad you came here today to talk with me and to inspire everybody who is open for this inspiration. And thanks to everyone listening. Thanks for joining us. The next
Yes.
episode is around the corner, so stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to Rise to Lead. Keep shining your light, standing up for what's right, and inspiring others to step into their brilliance. If you like this episode, please give it a 5-star rating and subscribe to the Rise to Lead podcast on your preferred podcast app. Until next time, it's Regina Huber, and in the meantime, remember to rise to lead.